Okay, so I come from that small town that Damien mentioned on the west coast of Ireland, Galway, and very happy to see that Jerry, my colleague and friend, is also, let's just say, presenting next, and another man from Galway. And I suppose my journey started off with going to college, born in Galway, going to college in Galway, and eventually spent the bulk of my career in Silicon Valley in California, working in the microchip sector. So I always wanted to come back to Ireland to do something that would be, you know, different, something that could help the community that I was born and raised in, and that helped me develop my values. And I looked for many, many years, and in the clean rooms and engineering worlds of Silicon Valley, it's hard to get those answers. So I came home after 12 years there, and I worked on a project called the Galway Wind Park, which is the largest onshore wind development in the Republic of Ireland, on the island of Ireland, as a matter of fact. And as a local from Galway, I felt that, you know, we need to, as is alluded to earlier on, we need to really look at the community and how the community can be involved in business going forward. So a couple of things we did. First of all, we gave a certain percentage of the revenue to the adjacent community of the project. We also then looked at, okay, how do we make, you know, renewable energy and climate change and so on topical? How do we get this into the psyche of the locals? You know, people in business, people in academia are well aware of the challenges that are posed by sustainability, biodiversity, climate change, and so on. And one of the ideas that I came up with and drove, let's just say, with the team was that of trying to integrate education into the actual wind farm. And for this reason, we decided to call it a wind park as opposed to a wind farm. In other words, it's a place where people could go to recreate. So the local community now have access to 48 kilometers of walking tracks and cycling tracks. They have access to education panels. You can see in the illustration here, a wind vane and anemometer showing basically people how the turbines work. We also have interpretation around the natural heritage as well as the cultural heritage in the area. And very importantly, to try to bring that focus around environmental education. So you can see here then on Global Wind Day, where, let's just say, we had a collection of people come to the site and go for walks and so on. And anytime you can get young people into an environment in nature, and you have a great opportunity to, I suppose, to influence them in a positive manner in terms of the crisis we face in terms of climate change, but also what can be done to mitigate it. Currently, I'm working on a project on the east coast of Ireland in an area called Arklow. It's south of Dublin. And we're looking at, you know, the possibilities for an offshore wind development. So this is about maybe 520 megawatts in size. We've been working with the local schools there in terms of environmental education, trying to, I suppose, demonstrate that it's not all about your bottom line. It's not all about the revenue. You know, business has a responsibility to try and educate and try to bring, let's just say, community along with them on a journey. So one of the modules that Ed4All, let's just say, teach is around circular economy. How do we move from this linear economy, which is wreaking havoc on our ecosystems, on our natural resources? How do we move back into a circular economy? And this school here came up with a hashtag, be a sustainable stylist. So the students realize that their fashion habits and consumerism is really driving problems. And this was all about, if we can get students, children, and communities to understand and be aware of the problems, only then will they gain appreciation for the problems and be willing to take action and change their habits. So our end product is something like this. This is one of our wind developments in the Moray Firth in the north of Scotland. So this is what we hope to have of the east coast of Ireland in 2025. But it's, again, it's not just about the energy in the wind park. We want to bring an education element to it also. So we're going to create a state-of-the-art sustainable education centre at the shoreline of this development, so that students from the area in Wicklow, Dublin, the broader region, and the entire country indeed, can actually come and visit this wind park and get to understand, let's just say, the workings of the turbines, the challenges of the marine environment, marine ecology, and everything from engineering to the environment to also the cultural heritage. And this brings me on to, I suppose, let's just say, how do we go about that? How do we bring that awareness to, let's just say, the younger generation? We're the ones that have wreaked havoc on the planet in terms of its natural resources and its depletion. So how do we change things? So we all know sustainability is core to the survival of our planet and all species, and we need to really try and connect with and empower the youth. We're all familiar with Greta Thunberg and what she's done, and the youth, let's just say, are strong, are vibrant, have great vision, but there's so much information out there today, we need to make sure we get the right information. So what we're trying to do in Ed4All is, as a group of volunteers, ranging from scientists to engineers to web designers to entrepreneurs, a group of 12 people working on a voluntary basis, is to make environmental education a cornerstone of the curriculum. When we spoke last year, the objective was to make it a cornerstone of the curriculum in Ireland. But Damien, with his vision, we have basically stepped it up a notch. And now we plan to make environmental education a cornerstone of the international curriculum. And hence we're discussing this topic today. And we'd like to discuss how we can, work with you in order to do that. Everything we do is based on the UN SDGs, and we're not focusing on all of them. We're basically focused on what we consider to be the ones that we can impact, and that, let's just say, students can impact and communities can impact. I suppose we all look at it at the moment and look at, I suppose, the challenges we have, and they do seem insurmountable. But Greta Thunberg, I suppose, has highlighted how a young, frail 16-year-old girl can go up against the likes of Donald Trump, up against society, up against, let's just say, her own government, and make a difference. So let's just say, through that type of thinking and through activism, we can make a difference. And activism is not something we need to take lightly, but it's something that is required in order to make change. So in order to help drive that change, what we have done as a team is we've taken the information and we've peer reviewed it, and we want to basically ensure that the information is factual and not corporate spin and not basically, vested interest spin and so on. We've seen what's happened with the fossil fuel industry and so on over the years. So we want to make sure that we provide accurate information. And we need to also neutralize this eco-anxiety that is paralyzing the young generation. Prior to the pandemic, that's COVID-19, that Garish talked about, let's just say we had this problem, eco-anxiety with what's going to happen to the planet. Now I've got the double whammy, if you want to call it that, of the pandemic. So it's really important that we now, let's just say, enable teachers with the proper tools to get effective environmental education. So we have a call to action. We've focused on what we consider to be the 10 most important themes. We talked for a long time about what should be the focus, but if we want to get the planet back on track and society back on track, the 10 most important themes are biodiversity overview, climate change, getting people to understand the science behind it, getting people to understand basically how the energy system can be transformed in order to address climate change, looking at the circular economy, how we use our raw materials and so on, looking at the pollution of water, looking at basically how transport can impact climate change, looking at how agriculture can impact climate change, pollution of plastics, the pollution of air, and also how we need to look at the loss of biodiversity and how we can protect that. They are the 10 most important themes at the moment, and that's what we focus on. What we're trying to do is make the messages very simple, very compelling, and let's just say that we have an expression that a picture is 1,000 words. So this picture, which looks like a graph with a hockey stick at the end of it, shows the human population. And why did the human population basically grow exponentially? Because of the Industrial Revolution. Very simple. We want people to understand that. We also want people to understand that the increase in population of the planet is wonderful. And as we head for 10 billion people in 2050, the rate of extinction is basically of species is growing in that exact same trend. And that increased population and overconsumption equals mass extinction. So how do we change that? Well, we need to create a long-term global vision for a sustainable future. And that's tough. It means we all got to change the way we do things. So whether you're basically the student in, you know, a primary school, a secondary school, the MD of a corporation, an engineering corporation, every single one of us has a responsibility to change, and we all have the empowerment to change. Every day is a school day. I was on a European webinar this past Tuesday night, and I was really shocked with 2 slides that were presented. In Ireland, we always look to, you know, what can be done abroad? Oh, the rainforests are getting burned down, and so on and so forth. Something I didn't realize, that degraded peatlands are responsible for greater than 5% of the greenhouse gases on our planet. And shipping and aviation, which are frequently getting the blame for the problems, are responsible for circa 2% each. So rewetting bogs across the planet can save up to 5% of the global carbon emissions. So Ireland as a country can play a very important role, and we need to empower ourselves to basically do something about that. And likewise in India, in the US, and across the planet, we all need to stop looking, you know, across the waters and internationally at what can be done. We need to look more locally. So what I try and do is, I suppose, empower the students and make them aware that it's not necessarily one massive change that will make the difference. It's lots of small changes. For example, be slow to cut your garden, grow flowers that will support bee species, and so on and so forth. We have what I call the 4 key pillars to take action and deliver. And this is basically provided to schools and teachers in order to, let's say, drive on change and demonstrate to students that they can actually make a difference. And one of the biggest differences that students can make, as we all know, is pester power. So we try and get the students to also pester their parents, pester their aunts, their uncles, their communities to drive change. So we hope that this impact will be felt in Ireland and beyond. If you want further information, we'd encourage you to visit our website, www.ecoed4all.com, ecoed4all.com, developed by Amanda, and a wonderful resource, and we'll give you a flavour for the opportunity there. So in summary, we have a critical need. We have now developed a scalable solution. This education solution is fully digitized. We have everything from presentations to question answer sheets to MP4 videos with, let's just say, our team providing information on the various topics. This is not a commercial venture. It has the potential for international profile. And speaking with Damien and the team, we would love to partner with schools, with universities, with appropriate groups in India, with corporations in India, indeed, companies in India, to try and see how we can actually roll this out at a school level, at a company level, and so on, because we all have, let's just say, a responsibility to ensure that the planet that our generation has impacted so heavily can be rejuvenated for the next generation. So thank you very much for your time, for your attention. Sorry that it's such a, I suppose, challenging topic for a very, let's just say, happy day getting together, but it is very important. And as we make progress, let's just say, on this venture to make environmental education a cornerstone of curriculum across the planet, I think we'll have very positive, let's just say, events ahead. Thank you very much.